Today we're doing a rerun of an episode where I had a conversation with the now retired AIGP, Assistant Inspector General of Police, Asan Kasingye. We're doing this because normally in October 2nd or 3rd, it's normally the day that the Uganda Police Force celebrates the Uganda Police Day. And I just wanted to remind us of this conversation, so I hope you enjoy it. I was so privileged to have a conversation with one of the foremost top Ugandan cops. He is called Asan Kasingye. He is the Assistant Inspector General of Police. Him of the fame of a policeman is an ordinary day, everyday human being. AIGP Asan Kasingye is a seasoned professional, highly learned and qualified police officer that rose up to become the Chief Political Commissar of the Ugandan Police Force, the UPF. He was born on the 23rd of March 1964 and joined the police force in 1989 at the rank of Cadet Assistant Superintendent of Police. And having worked as the OC station at Entebbe for 5 years, he was sent on a short stint to a patch up there in the north. But he quickly rose through the ranks to become the Commissioner of Community Affairs, the Public Relations Officer of the UPF, and also appointed Assistant Inspector General of Police for the first time ever Chief Political Commissar. He was later transferred to Interpol as the Director in 2011. He is a holder of a bachelor's degree in Political Science and Economics from the Makerere University and a master's degree in Public Administration and Management from the same institution in 2001. This conversation was as interesting as it gets. I wished I had more time. In fact, there is need for more conversation with this man. He talks, you listen. It's going to be an interesting conversation. I invite you to delve deep in right now.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to yet another episode here on Life Signatures Conversations. And this is a special edition. It's not a Wednesday, but it's a special edition that I'm bringing you this episode. It is Labor Day, and what a way to do this, by bringing to you a conversation from a top cop, Asan Kasingye, AIGP Asan Kasingye. He is the Assistant Inspector General of Police in the Republic of Uganda. This is a man of purpose. This is a man of productivity. And this conversation, I believe, is going to help you to get the in and out of his life, why he does what he does. Kasingye, it's a name that is not such foreign name to you all in Uganda. You know this name. And I want us to have a discussion today on various topics that are pertinent to his life. Afande, how are you doing today?
I'm okay, Lawrence.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity, it's a privilege for me to be in your office today. And someone might think it's very hard for them to get you, tell them, because you're telling me that someone else came here and they interviewed you also and so on. Is it easy to get to Afande Kasingye?
Thank you, Lawrence, and once again, thank you for having me here. And it's easy to see me.
Yeah.
I believe, as the Chief Political Commissioner of the Uganda Police Force,
Yes.
that I must be accessible to the public. I must be accessible to people with purpose. I must be accessible to people who are going to take our message even to a bigger audience than I have.
Yeah.
So it's okay for me to talk to anybody who comes here with a purpose.
Okay. That's exactly what I wanted to hear from you.
Mm.
Excuse me, I'm going to have to lift this up because it's a bit low.
Mm.
All right, Afande, policing. I know you're passionate about this, but let me ask you a philosophical question. I don't know if we have an answer to this one. Do we know when policing started?
In Uganda?
Actually, humanity.
Humanity. As far as I can understand,
Yeah.
in 1844,
Wow.
there was a secretary for Home Office that is in the UK. His name is Robert Arthur Peel. Now, Peel was responsible for internal security of the UK. And at that time, there was the Industrial Revolution. From the Agricultural Revolution, we know that from our primary, history, up to the Agricultural Revolution. During that time, we see industries coming all over Europe. We see, a lot of innovation and a lot of, cities, coming up.
Urban centers.
Urban centers coming up.
Yes.
And we see migration of people.
Yes, from the villages.
From the villages,
Right.
They are coming to where now there is work. And because of that, the industrial community needed people to start now looking at the security of the industries, because people were working day and
Night.
others were working night.
Yeah.
So now who was going to ensure the security of people coming to work at night and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Now, there was no
Yeah.
what I can call modern police at that time.
Yeah.
So what happened was that he mobilized the people
Yeah.
into kind of, neighborhood watch programs or community policing programs where people come at night.
Yeah.
And then they ensure that there is security of property and of people. And now that is how, from the people themselves, people were offering themselves.
It wasn't official.
It wasn't official.
Yes.
Now, later on, he sat and said, now, can't we have people who are doing the same thing that the communities are doing? We give them a uniform, we pay them a salary, we give them some kind of rules of engagement, and then they are designated for that. And later on, he took it to the
government of the day. Yeah.
And then they decided that there must be some people to do that.
Officially
now,
and full time.
Yes. And if have you ever asked yourself why the British call police corps?
No, I've never had an answer.
Yeah, because it comes from that. The first people that were, given that responsibility were community-oriented police.
Yes.
Community-oriented police services. So corps.
Corps. That's the short
form. So a police officer became a cop. And then later on, this became a profession. Worldwide, a contemporary profession now we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it stems from there.
It stems from neighborhood watch.
It stems from neighborhood watch.
It's a societal need, isn't it?
Yes.
We can even say now I want to guess, we can even say not just in the UK, but societies all over the place, they needed some kind of watch, neighborhood watch all over the place, isn't it?
Yes.
It is just that these guys are the ones who went ahead and they made it official.
Yes.
And so on.
Yeah.
So policing is a societal need.
It's a societal need.
Yeah.
And where you are, because you see, every society has rules.
Yeah.
For that society to live in harmony with the people, to live in harmony with each other. Now, there are rules that have been put there. Either the rules are written, or the rules are not written but are known, and they are passed on from generation to generation.
Orally.
Yeah. So like I am born from a village, and then I know that you must greet elders. It's not written anywhere, but every child is expected to greet elders. And now societies, as they develop, there are people who are definitely going to go against the rules.
Of course.
Now, how do you deal with them?
Yeah.
You have to make sure that, number one, you have a group of people that are going to say, these are not allowed.
Yeah.
And if you cross the line, then you're going to be held responsible for what happened.
Yeah.
But also to ensure that does not happen.
Yeah.
So rules.
So preventing.
Yes, preventing.
And also taking care of what has already happened.
What has already happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Afande, what this tells me is that we need to sensitize people to know that police are not police compartmentalized from society.
No.
This is part and parcel of society, even as we've grown as human beings.
Yes.
And I want to ask you an interesting question. Probably it's a spiritual question. Do you think there will be a time when there is no need for police? Or let me rephrase the question. Under what circumstances will there ideally be no need for police?
Since you said that there is some spiritual component in the question, then I will take you to when God created Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he put them in a garden, a very beautiful garden.
Yeah.
And then he said, look after this garden,
and
everything that I put there is very beautiful, but don't touch that tree. Don't touch that fruit. We know what happened at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They touched the fruit, and he came back and said, where are you?
Yeah.
They were hiding.
Yeah.
And then later on, we know that he said, no, you've crossed the line. And because you've crossed the line, this is going to happen to you, and this is going to happen to you. So from creation, you can see that human beings are prone to error. Human beings may not follow the rules because we are human beings. Now, as long as we are human beings, we are prone to error.
That's it. So we can easily say, Afande, that police are actually doing God's work.
Police are doing God's work.
Yeah.
I can assure you that you are very, very correct.
Yeah.
That once they are, because when you look at the laws that we have, contemporary laws, they have a very big bearing from the commandments. Whether
they are moral and spiritual at the same time.
Moral and spiritual.
Yeah.
The Bible says don't steal. The penal code says you don't steal. You don't take what is not yours. And if you take it, this is what happens to you. Except that for the Bible and the spiritually, it is like, if you confess, if you repent, all that one is
forgiven.
Yeah. Now, for governments, if you commit something, then they say no. We are the ones going to judge.
Yes.
But at the same time, I also think that it's still important that when you do something against someone, and you go to that person and say, "I'm sorry for what I did," then it can end there. That's why even in the modern law, there are offenses against the state. There are also offenses against person.
Exactly.
So if you commit an offense against somebody, like punching him up or doing something, you
in
can
the heat
go back,
of the moment.
In the heat of the moment, you can go back and say, "I am sorry, I transgressed." Then the person is going to say no. But the police that have been there I think it is a vocation. It's a vocation by God that there be peace and order in society for people to be able to
pursue their purpose,
pursue the purpose. But with God, it is like to remember me, to know I'm their God, and to take to Him all your problems, because He says all your problems, bring them to me. We see that the Jews, He put them in a very, very, very nice place. We we know Jerusalem actually means a place for peace. That land was very peaceful and whatever, but we know there were wars. We know they would be attacked. We know they would attack. We know all that. Therefore, much as we see there was no police, but there was a need for law and order. God talked to people through dreams and through commanding them and telling them go and do this. Sending Moses to Egypt, and then Moses evacuating and saving, rescuing the Jews from Egypt, and the way he took them. That is, protection. Protecting his own people. It took them 40 years from Egypt. Do you know the distance?
It's like
it's a very, very short distance. It's like every day, every minute they were walking in a day.
Yeah.
They were spending like a kilometer minute by minute. So they took 40 years to be able to reach the promised land.
Yeah.
But during those 40 years, what was happening? They were making a lot of sins. They are transgressing. So it is through that then God comes and says, Moses, this is the law that you must. And out of a stone, certain words, this is the commandment. Number 1, never do this. Number 2, never do this. That's the constitution. So everywhere you have a society and people commit certain things, then there is going to be rules of engagement, a constitution and a law. And therefore, now who enforced that? Who enforced that? In the Old Testament, we don't see that there was a policeman. But we see that there are people, used to go to and confess and whatever.
It was largely a personal thing.
It was a
personal let's just call it personal leadership. God expected for people to do.
Yeah.
But obviously did not work.
Yeah. And then we see that there are those who would come out and trust him and believe in him, and then he would come and do something to protect them, and then it was like showing society that if you do this, you'll be protected. We know Daniel.
Yeah, exactly.
We know Daniel. We know what happened to him. They threw him in a den of lions. But because he believed in Jesus, in God,
he was righteous. He did what God wanted.
The lions could not eat him up.
Yeah.
But we also see in the same Bible after Jesus Christ, all the time during his ministry, we see that he was respecting the administrative structures that were there.
He wasn't like rebelling against them.
He wasn't rebelling against them.
Yes.
You remember even in his death when he was being tried, he was being tried by the government of the day. Government organizations. Yeah. Yes, he was the King Herod and for this and that. Yeah. He would subject himself to that. He had powers to say, I can't, but he subjected himself to that until when they said, no, you will go and suffer death. Yeah. He didn't say no, he didn't, whatever. Yeah. Which means that there was you remember I said give to God
what belongs to God and
give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. What he meant by Caesar, he knew that there was an administration. If you look at the New Testament, whether Romans, whether all these letters of St. Paul, they are talking about St. Paul. To the letters he writes to Philippians, to Romans, he's talking about a goal. But he says, how do you get that goal? How do you go to achieve that? Then he says that you can achieve that, number 1, by making sure that you obey the law. If you open those books, those letters, by Paul, is telling people about the law. Actually,
Romans, there's a chapter in Romans that says everyone should obey the governing authorities.
Exactly.
Because, listen to what he says. He says that these governing authorities have been actually put there by God. And remember, when you've just mentioned Pharaoh, I want you to see something very interesting about God. Just the same way Jesus Christ did not rebel against the governing authority of the day, you see, God had power enough just to yank those Jews out of Egypt without necessarily going and subject himself through Moses under Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Which means God recognized the authority of Pharaoh that particular time.
Yes.
And that's why he sent Moses to Pharaoh.
Yeah.
So there is an element of order.
Yes.
And organization and administration in society. And that's where the police force comes in. So police force is not something that we should look at as if it's a necessary evil, so to speak. It is part and parcel of the needs of society.
Yes.
Because of what you've told us, that there is a fall of man. And all of us are prone to doing that which is wrong.
And he himself ordains them.
Yes.
He knows they are there. And you've brought it so well that even those people in positions, it is God that puts them in a position. Now look at this. Saul fought against God. He fought against Jesus Christ. He preached against him. He beat up people who were following him. He killed some. He was such a very, ruthless person who was fighting Christianity. Now you can take that as the powers that be, because he was representing, the king who did not want, Christianity and that kind of thing. We know God would have exterminated him. Would something bad would have happened to him, but he turned him to himself, and later on we know he turned into his Paul. And we know that Paul is the one now who was propagating the ministry of Christianity, which means that even the police that we're talking about, that is responsible for the safety, the security, and prevention of people, so that people live in harmony and whatever, is ordained by God. But at the end of it, you are a police officer. Go and make sure that you look after my people.
It's a godly calling.
It's a godly calling.
And I want us to go there.
After my people.
I want us to go there, Afande, now that we're talking about calling, because on this podcast, I normally talk about purpose, right? So you as Afande, I know you've already told me this, but I wanted the listeners to know. At what point in time did you decide, I am going to be a police officer? As in, You've told me it's a calling. For you, it's a calling. Up to today, you believe it's a calling, and you are here where you are because you're serving God. But tell us, how did it come about for you? What is the genesis of you joining the police force?
To be honest, where I'm born from, and the formal education and the non-formal education that I went through, being a police officer was not in the picture.
Yeah.
I remember we played so many games as young people.
Yeah.
You play. You
mimic doctor.
You mimic doctors. You mimic, soldiers. You mimic, a husband. You mimic a driver. You drive those, very nice, plants that. But I don't remember ever playing the role of a policeman. Number two, we grew up in a society where it was we didn't see policemen coming to our village. But for me, I grew up at an institution that is now a district headquarters. But at that time, it was it was a county headquarters called Shema.
Yeah.
And there were some policemen, and those were local administration policemen. I used to see them from young, and I never wanted to be like them. Because even we had names for them.
What does it mean?
You run away,
and
I throw a stone. Because we knew they didn't have guns, much as we knew there was one gun which we never used to see quite often.
Yeah.
But they were in the village with us.
Yeah.
We went to the same well to collect water.
With them, you did life with them.
Yes. We saw when they wanted food, sometimes they would come to my mother and say, "Can you give me a bunch of matoke?" So it is not something that really
it wasn't admirable.
Yes. And then I would ask them. They said they didn't study much. They were either P7.
Yeah.
So I said, "Now this is not my job." When I went to secondary school, senior one, the first week was a strike. We had a strike. And during that strike, it was during the strike, there was a need for the headmaster to call in to restore law and order. So he went to Bushenyi and he brought policemen. So they came, shot, bullets in the air.
Yeah,
now this is
people.
a young boy who's left P7 and has come to start senior one.
Yeah. At let's say 14, 15.
I was exactly 14. Because this happened in 1979.
Yeah.
I was born in 1964.
Yeah.
But in March.
Yeah.
So I was 15. Call it 15.
Yeah.
14, 15.
Yeah.
Now, because of the shooting, I feared them. It terrified me. And we were sent home. So the picture of a policeman shooting and all that, and we had come out of war. This is 1979.
This is 1979.
Yes.
There was actually you people in the western part of the country who were actually in the route of the Tanzanian soldiers.
Yes, of the Tanzanian soldiers and the Front for National Salvation for NASA.
Yeah.
So
you had seen insecurity.
We had seen insecurity. We had seen guns. We had seen soldiers. We had
displaced. Actually, you became IDPs. Internally displaced people.
Yes, we are IDPs.
Yeah.
So all this now compounded on me about I reflected and what kind of police am I seeing?
Yeah.
However, when I went to Makerere University, again at Makerere University, first year, we never used to see policemen in the university. But when they came at the university for one reason or the other, students used to call them. They used to call them. What is this dictionary? The one which is very simplified.
I've forgotten. There's Webster Dictionary. There is Oxford.
No, it is a simpler one.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Yeah, now
that's the reference that they used to give.
Yeah,
the
we gave them the person who wrote that dictionary, and then we used to give them to the policemen, and we called them that.
Yeah.
In short, we are saying they didn't go to school. They are not educated, and so that is the kind of impression. But when I went to second year
at Makerere,
one of the students from my area, he was staying in Livingstone, like I was staying in Livingstone. We had a very good time during the war. We were teaching, after the war now of 1985, not the one of the war of 1985, when we were cut off. So he was already a student at Makerere. I had finished senior 6. I was waiting for my results, which came, and I knew I would go to Makerere. So we teamed up. This is Mr. Namanya Benjamin. Now here he was, and at one time I was with him in the same room at Makerere University. Now when he finished his course, he applied to join the police. Now as I was in third year, he was in training
as a police officer. Yeah.
Now before I finished,
so this is someone you looked up to.
Yes. Before he finished the course, he had already finished, so he came to the university in his uniform, in a police car, and I was impressed.
The impression was
very smart.
Yeah.
So I had so many questions for him.
Yeah.
Why did you join? Yeah. What are you now going to do?
This is a graduate, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a graduate.
Yeah.
Okay. But also during that time, we had people who used to come from government. They would come to talk to us.
They come from different departments and different
of government.
Professions.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they come from, this was NRM. This was called movement government.
Yeah.
Not NRM, but movement government.
Yeah.
So it means that all of us belonged to movement.
Yeah.
These other parties were in the background.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about them.
Yeah.
We had come from parties very bad history.
Yeah.
Now, so we used to have people from movement government. Movement secretariat, they would come to the university and talk to us in lectures, public lectures, but also talk to us as political science class. But we also had something called NRM study group. Now, this NRM study group we used to have specific people that we wanted ourselves, and would say, would like now to talk to, let me say, Major Manyamushega, want to talk to Major Kazora, who was the central government representative for Kampala, and that kind of thing. Now, they used to tell us that we want you people to come and join the government. But when you join the government, we had critical areas that we want you to cover.
They need help.
Yes, they need help. The critical areas were, number one, NRA, the National Resistance Army, had not become UPDF. The second was Uganda Police Force. The third one was Uganda Prison Service. Then there were intelligence services. Those were the critical areas. Yes, public service, people can still go to public service, but they wanted these, what you call forces, to have enlightened people, young people, educated people, highly educated people, because that is the way forward. So they used to tell us they have a huge problem within the police. Why? In 1986, when the NRM government came into power, there were 18,000 police officers
of the previous government.
Yeah. Now, these were entrenched.
All of them.
And they left 3,000.
3,000 police officers for the entire country.
3,000.
Yeah.
So by the time I got Makere in 1986, there were only 3,000 police officers in the force, in Uganda. Now, that is a huge gap that the government sought to fill.
Yeah.
So, those of us who got a little bit array at the university, clear-headed, ideologically, headed, and yes, we still had gray areas because later on they took us to Chankwanzi to train to get more ideology. But we could see exactly where this country was before, where we were, and where we needed to go. So it was very easy now for me to take a decision in my head, and I didn't change it. And I said, I want to join Uganda Police Force.
Yeah. So the impression from Benjamin?
Yes.
And then the talks from the government, highlighting the critical areas, and then actually telling you people that they are looking for highly educated people to fill those gaps.
Yes.
So you came to a conscious conclusion that I am going to become a police officer. You did not feel like the bad impression of these are ordinary people, these are simple people. It was no longer playing in your
Now it was no longer playing because I can assure you, I knew they existed and I experienced them. I remember after passing out as graduating, I don't normally want to use the word passing out. It means something different. But we use it in forces. We say
passing out parade.
But the word pass out means dying. So when we graduated, we lost somebody at the village. I had just started work in Entebbe police station as OC. I think at that time I was OCMCB, which means minor contravention book. It is an office where you work in uniform, but you are helping CID with
intelligence stuff,
with minor offenses, assault, domestic issues, and that kind of thing. So we lost somebody on the village, and I went home, and I was so proud with my uniform, like I always am. So I put it on and went for burial. Now, when I came, we buried after that, then we went home. It was very near home. We are neighbors. So my dad came and told me that one of his friends, he didn't tell me the name, he was asking him what happened to me. Did I fail at Makere University? Did your son fail? Then my dad was like, why? Why are you asking me that? But he's in police uniform. That means he's a failure. He never got his degree. So those perceptions were still with the people. I believe they are still there.
They're still
even
there.
Right now.
Even your family, at that moment in time when you made that decision, not all of them celebrated.
I have not known anyone who didn't celebrate, but maybe in a bigger family. But my own family, they were happy about it.
Yes. Now tell me about You remember when the actual recruitment at Makerere, that incident, you need to tell us about that incident. How are they recruiting these guys? Now they come to the university. Who are these people that were coming from the government to actually recruit people into different departments of the government? How was that scenario for you?
You know, everybody at Makerere University was government sponsored.
Yes.
There was only one university in Uganda,
and that was Makerere.
Makerere University.
Yeah.
Now, whoever accesses Makerere, whoever is admitted at Makerere, is a government-sponsored student.
Yes.
There were no private students.
Yeah.
I can estimate the whole population at Makerere. I think by the time I went there in 1986, I think we were 6,000. That's the population of Makerere. 6,000. Now, 6,000 in the whole country, and at the level of which government needs employees, and then there's also the private sector that needs also employees. Now, the first priority
was the government.
Yeah. Now, when we finished our course in 1988, this is in August. This was in August. We started exams around June, July. Now, before we finished exams, they said everybody remains in his or her hall. Remain in your room. And they gave us meal cards. Yes, we have finished the course. Instead of taking away the meal cards, they were giving us new meal cards.
Yeah.
Remain there. You must first of all do public service interviews. Okay? At Makerere University. Your results have not even come. No. But you cannot leave that university and go home before
public service interviews.
For just doing public service interviews. Yeah. Now, those who wanted to join private sector, you join the private sector if you have not been taken.
So, government is given priority.
Government is given priority.
They come and they interview people. Everyone.
Yes.
They take the cream de la cream.
Yes.
So to speak.
Yes.
And then they leave the other for the private sector.
Exactly.
Okay.
And those who went before us, they tell us that the private sector used to come after university had, and then they stand around halls of residence, and then they see you moving. Then they ask, are you third year? Have you finished? Yes, we have finished. Now, would you come and work for Total or ESO or
one of these big companies,
these big hotels, or from motors, things like that.
Yeah.
That tells you that the competition for labor was very high. Why? Because it was the only university churning out maybe something like about 1,500
per year.
Per year.
Wow.
Yes, let me tell you.
Small number.
Our graduation.
Yeah.
Because the graduation that preceded mine.
Yeah.
They did in 1988 when I was in third year.
Yeah.
They did it in the Science quadrangle.
Ooh.
Science quadrangle has about 1,000 people. They sit about 1,000 people.
Yeah.
There were about 3 tents inside there.
Yeah.
And all graduates came and sat
and
there.
Fit there plus the
and
relatives.
then the heads of departments read the names, and by one,
it's done.
It was done. It started at 9. By 1, it's done. These days, it's a month.
Yeah.
They read out names every single day.
Yeah.
For a month.
Yeah.
But that time, that shows you how few we were. Now, I was called to the Arts quadrangle, and we filled. They were, at the notes board, the government jobs that were available, and how many people were needed to be recruited in public service, in the President's office, Ministry of Works, in agriculture, in all departments of government, MDS, ministries, departments, and agencies. So we went there, and I went to the notes board. I saw the sector I wanted, that was police, and I saw they wanted, I think they wanted 40 police officers. And I said I must be among the 40. So I went and the regulation was that you had to fill 3 forms.
Which means 3 choices.
3 choices.
You make 3 choices.
You make 3 choices.
Public service.
You don't make one choice.
Yeah.
You make 3 choices.
Yes.
So I went and picked the 3 forms. They were given to me offhand. There was somebody seated there and giving the forms. I picked the 3 forms. So I went and I filled the first form. Cadet, Assistant, Superintendent of Police. I got the second form. Cadet, Assistant, Superintendent of Police. I got the third form. Cadet, Assistant, Superintendent of Police. So I went and handed them. Now, as we were handing them, there was another person looking at how you have, whether you have done
the correct thing. Yeah.
So I was about to walk away. Then he says, young man, come back. So I came back. He said, you've made a mistake. You have spoiled this form. But one form I will keep it because it is correct. The second and the third, I need the second choice. I need the third choice. Then I said, oh, I'm sorry, sir, but I didn't make any mistake. He said, look, you made a mistake. It is not one position in 3 forms. No, it is 3 choices. And I said, I have not made a mistake. The first choice is police. The second choice is police. And the third choice is police. Then he says, ask me, what course did you do? Said, I did political science and economics. Yeah. And what's wrong with you? I said, sir, there's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. So he said, hold on there. So he goes to get to consult the head of the recruiting team. And I think the head of the recruiting team was from public service.
Right.
And it had some police officers who were part of his team. I remember one of them is Mr. Onyu, who retired in 2001 as a director of administration. So he summoned me, the head of the training. He summoned me and said, young man, were you not told that you've made a mistake? I said, sir, I've not made a mistake. In short, you are saying if it is not police, you cannot be given a job? I said, sir, I think that's what it means. It means. Then he said, okay, put that chair there. He's our first interviewee.
Wow.
Do you know how many students had applied for police at the end? 200.
Wow.
And, about 200 and maybe 70.
Wow.
Who had made a choice for police. Probably they had also made a choice for prisons, or they had made a choice elsewhere. Yeah. But it was me with a unique, they had never seen that before. So they said, sit. And the first question was, why do you want to join the police?
Right.
Okay. So that's how focused I was.
Yeah.
That's how serious I was about the job that I wanted, a job that I have done for the last 33 years, and a job that I wake up in the morning and I put on a khaki uniform every single day.
Even in sports, when you go for sports.
Whether I go for sports, even sometimes when they invite me for church, somebody may be in a Requiem Mass or whatever, I go in with my uniform. When I used to go by taxi, I had not bought a car. I would come from Entebbe to police headquarters because I came to police headquarters in June 1994 and I bought my first car in 1998.
4 years later.
4 years later. All those 4 years, I was moving in taxis. And I would put on a uniform. I see young people these days, they come with a backpack, and in the backpack they are civilian clothes.
Yeah.
So when they finish work here, they remove the uniform, put it in the backpack, and then they go in civilian clothes, even when they are driving their own car.
Yeah.
And I'm perturbed.
Yeah.
I said, are these guys not proud of who they are? Police officers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Your calling is in police.
Yes.
You have, from the look of things, no regret whatsoever.
No regret whatsoever. I actually have never even thought about. I don't know who can come to me and say that I made a very bad life choice, and I would tell him how wrong he is. Yes.
Which means you're telling me, Afande, if you were to go back to that particular moment in time that you were being interviewed, you will still
I would still do the same thing I normally tell my wife every time she's celebrating her birthday. I normally make a message and send to her, and then I say, if there was another opportunity for me to marry, I would still marry you.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I get another opportunity, I would still insist I want to join the police.
Nice.
Yes.
Wow. Now, of course, there are things that normally happen. There are ups and downs in life. In your service, this 33 years, in your service in police force, what has been your lowest moment? When you look back and you see, what has been your lowest moment, and why was that your lowest moment?
Wow. You know what, Lawrence?
Yeah.
I think you're the first person to ask me this question.
Okay.
And I don't remember answering it elsewhere so that I can steal some notes. So what I'm going to tell you is something that I've said for the first time. And I'm saying this honestly because there are not many. There are few instances where I have been at my lowest. Number one, my lowest comes in my performance of duties. I know that each one can work anywhere elsewhere in this country. And
you're supposed to be open to work anywhere in the country.
And in 1994, June 18th, I was transferred to Apache police station. Now, when I reached Apache, for some reason I can't understand, while the DPC at that time did not welcome me. And he welcomed me in a way that made me say, did I make the right decision? Because for 4.5 years that I was in Entebbe, I was loved. The DPC was my friend. We used to go together, go to that bar, buy a beer and drink it, go to that pork joint, go to eat lunch together. I go to his home. He comes to my home. We used to watch football together. World Cup, I remember World Cup of 1994. It was in the US. We watched it together in my house. And he was my best man. I chose him as my best man. You choose your boss, be your best man. Now I go to another boss who was telling me I have come to fight him.
He was insecure of sorts?
Yes. And I couldn't imagine that you have gone to work with somebody who tells you in the face, if you have come to fight me, you better understand how you are going to fight me. What type of gun you are using to fight me? Is it a Katusha? Is it an SMG, an LMG, a pistol? That kind of thing. And that was my lowest moment. But I didn't stop there, because I remember some few days, I think the first week, one of our police officers was shot by Kony.
It was during that insecurity part of season in the country where the LRA
they
were actually ravaging that part of
They had ravaged and devoured because they could eat people. I'm sorry to say this. They cooked people in a certain I have forgotten the place, but they cut people, they put them in cooking pots. I don't know whether they ate them or not, but cooking people, the smell and whatever, it's like eating them. Now,
and it is that moment.
It is that moment that something happened, and I had to take this patient. I love to do that. I love to make sure that this policeman didn't die, and he didn't die. And in actual fact, I took him throughout the whole night from Apache to Lachor Hospital, which is in Guru, through Panya routes and bushes, where I would have met Kony soldiers. Being from the west, I don't know whether I would have survived. And I was in a police vehicle. I had a gun. Definitely I was going to die, because many other police officers who were captured like that were shot dead. And that period I was in Apache, it was my lowest. I can tell you that. The second lowest was when I got an accident with a police vehicle. It so happened that I had been promoted, and there was a promotion party. It happened about 3 or 4 days after our promotion. On a Saturday,
several people had been promoted, not just
several
you.
people had been promoted.
Yeah.
I'd been promoted from assistant superintendent to superintendent, and we were just 2 of us. I had some other gentleman called Paul Nasimoro who was in charge of communication, and I was the only one from general duty, which I was in charge of community policing. So you can imagine a young man being promoted. Your first promotion. So we came with our wives, and then we had some, evening, some food, some drinks. Remember that night I never drank. I had issues with drinking. Even when I used to drink, if I got my second bottle, I begin to question myself why I'm drinking. Up to now, I don't like drinking.
It's a
beer.
conscience thing for you.
I'm now saved, but even before that,
you couldn't do 3 bottles.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go there. So my driver got drunk. So when we were going home, he said he can't drive. I should drive. By the time we reached Entebbe, we would have sobered up. So he went behind where he normally sat, and he slept off. So I drove and almost reaching Entebbe at a place called Chituburu. At the forest, there's a forest reserve there. When you leave the water of Entebbe, of Lake Victoria, and you are entering now Entebbe, a vehicle came in front of me, and there was an overhead collision. It was fatal.
People died?
People died in the small car. I had my wife and the driver. It's only me who got injured.
Your wife was safe?
My wife didn't have even a single scratch.
Wow.
My driver didn't have a single scratch.
Yeah.
But for me, first of all, I was not in my seatbelt. You people, I tell you, seatbelt is very important. So I hit your mouth on the steering wheel, which by the way became
mangled. Hey.
And hit the chest. I was in the hospital for 2 days. And
in pain.
That was Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I was picked from that hospital. I was still on treatment. They took me to a police court at police headquarters.
Where was that those days?
Police headquarters was at Parliamentary Buildings.
Yes.
This part where you see MP's offices.
Yes.
Those were our offices, actually.
Yes, I remember.
Yes. So, ministry, we used to share that place with Minister of Foreign Affairs and also the Attorney General's chambers. And
near prisons there.
That part facing prisons. I think that was the Minister of Justice and then Attorney General's chambers. So, and at the end of it, the recommendation was a demotion. Putting on a rank for one day, then the second day, the rank goes. Okay?
Yeah.
And this rank was not given back to me until, this was in 1996, until 1998, which means for 2 years, I was back on the assistant superintendent. That was my second lowest moment. This is something that people don't know. But I am mature enough now to start narrating my stories. The third lowest is when I was a public relations officer. I think I had left public relations and I was chief political commissar for the first time. This is the election of 2011. 2011 election. We all know that President Museveni stood with the Colonel retired Kizza Besigye. There were some other people who stood with them. There was a gentleman called Chibirige, who was in charge of research at Makerere University, stood for JEMA party, and then others. Now, I think there was, I don't know whether, I forget the other people, but those are the names that can come quickly to me. Now, it so happened that election had, there was violence, definitely. And in one of those episodes, the FDC presidential candidate was injured. He was sprayed, chemical
in the eyes,
tear gas in the eyes.
Yeah.
But much as he said chemicals, but he was sprayed in the eyes.
Yeah.
And his hand.
Yeah. Because
he was in a syringe, so he went to Nairobi for treatment.
Yeah.
Now he was supposed to come. When he's supposed to come back, this is now a time when the president elect was going to be sworn in.
Yes.
Sworn in. And swearing in takes place in May. I think there is a fixed date. Could it be May 20th? I think it's May 20th. Now, he was supposed to come a day before. He decides he's going to come on that very day. And I was chosen as the commander for that day. And I was involved in the discussions of his safe return.
With his people.
And I remember Mugisha Muntu, General Mugisha Muntu. I remember there was Cecily Ogwar, Honorable Cecily Ogwar. I remember there was now is in NRM, but Major Ruranga. I remember there was a security officer for FDC. He was called Ongoriga. I remember there was the communication officer for FDC. She was called Anne. Yes. Then there were other people, and we had taken a week of discussions, and I was the chair of of those discussions. I was appointed by the Inspector General of Police to chair the FDC group. And then I had some few people from the police in the IGP's boardroom. That's where we are meeting every single day. So we had agreed on how he was going to come, how long he was going to stay on the way. We had agreed on 1 hour from Entebbe, and we had agreed on everything. Now, on the day he was supposed now to come, he cancelled now. He decided to come on the following day. And as I was putting on my uniform at 5 a.m. And I stay in Entebbe, so I would have woken up at around 4. So I got a call from my Inspector General of Police. And he said, Kasingye, stand down. I said, I do what? Stand down. Why? Now we are sending AIGP Ruego, Francis Xavier Ruego. He's going to be the commander. So for you, just stand down. The only thing you can do, go at meet him at Chituburu and take him through what is supposed to be done. Then I said, isn't this late? He said, no. Then I said, that's okay, sir. Because for me, I've never disobeyed any lawful orders and instructions. So I called Mr. Ruego and he said he's going to be at Chituburu at a certain point in time. And actually what he wanted me was how I can help to manage the press, because the press was too much. And he wanted to see, he didn't want them to go beyond that point. And so he wanted to help him sort it out, which I did. I came and I pointed to him that this one was cleared, this one was cleared, this one was cleared. They didn't have cards at that time. I don't know why we didn't do that. But then they were cleared to go to the airport. So I went and sat near my wife's shop, just near Share. People who know Entebbe, Share Entebbe, which is in town, just opposite Total. There's Total, there's Share. And my wife had hardware shop opposite. So I went and sat there. And she had a small TV in her store.
Following the proceedings.
So I was following proceedings at Kororo, but I was also seeing the road, what was happening in the road. And I think it took them about, after landing, it took them about 2 hours from the airport to the point where I was. Now, when they passed where I was looking at the function at Kororo, and the president was swearing in. Now, my question was, what time are they going to reach Kampala? And, the president is going to use the same
road to come back.
And he had a visitor, the president of Nigeria. Yes. What was his name?
Maybe Obasanjo at that moment. Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. So I called the PRO at that time. She's now a minister, and this was Judith Nabakova. So I called her. I think at that time she was assistant commissioner. So I said, Judith, where have you reached? She said, they have reached Chituburu. Now everything is done and they are going into vehicles. Saying, Jesus Christ, what is this that's happening? I called her again. She says, we are now at Baita. Everybody has left Kororo. And you're telling me that crowd, which was like a mile, a kilometer, a crowd of and people were narrowed, they were drinking, they had, things that they should not be having when a president is passing. Now, when the convoy of the visiting president, because they were supposed to have lunch at the State House in Entebbe, somebody called me, do you know the convoy has been stoned? I said, what? Stoned? Somewhere at Namulanda, if you know Entebbe very well. From Namulanda coming to Bwebaja, around there, people went into those hills, they started throwing boulders. And what happened the following week, I think it was a Monday, a committee of inquiry had been set up, chaired by the now Minister of Justice, General Jeje Odong. That time he was just a general in the UPDF. And I was witness number 3 about what happened, because government needed to see that these things do not happen again. And I remember after that, I was transferred from Chief Political Commissariat to the Directorate of Interpol as a director. That was my third lowest moment in my career. Why did we reach there? How did we reach there? How can such happen such a day?
You're saying it was avoidable?
Yes, and that's what I told the committee. It was avoidable through proper planning, through proper command, through proper, deployments, through proper communication, all that. So it was avoidable, and I felt so bad. That was my third as a police officer. But I also think the last one, where I was very, very, very low, was when my colleague, AIGP Andrew Felix Kawesi, was shot that day of 17th of March 2017. It was a tough day. I got to know when I was traveling from home. That day, I don't know why I traveled a bit late. It was around 9. A friend of mine called me. We in the same family group called FEMUTA, Family Fellowship and Mutual Trust Association. His name is Geoffrey Tayebwa. So he calls me and said, I'm seeing here a picture of Kawesi has been shot. And I said, no, man.
It can't be.
No, it can't be. Felix Kawesi was at my home a week before because my son had come from India. He had gone for a kidney transplant. And I chose Kawesi as my guest of honor, as my chief guest. I had invited friends, relatives, So they were all at my home. We were merrymaking. This was a Sunday, so it was a Thanksgiving. And Kawesi was there. We were telling stories, laughing. I am the one who mentored Kawesi. I was given the job of mentoring Kawesi by the then Inspector General of Police, General Kare Kaihura. Kawesi was an assistant superintendent and a personal assistant to the Inspector General when I was a commissioner of police. And at that time, I was also the public relations officer of the police. So I was mentoring Kawesi as a young man. Me, I'm senior, very senior. And later on, when he was taken to Masindi as commandant of the training school, I still recommended to the Inspector General of Police that he needed to be my acting commissioner in charge of political education. At that time, I was already a chief political commissar. And Kawesi at that time was senior superintendent when he was commandant of training school in Kavari in Masindi. So I mentored him. I knew him so well. Even when he now came to my rank of assistant inspector general, I had a lot to keep on teaching him on what to do. In the meetings that we were in, you could see that we are complementing each other. And I was proud of this young man, of what he could do in a very, very, very short time. So because he knew that history, and he knew I had goodwill for him, I was already in Interpol as director. So I used to tell him on what should be done. Even when he became the public relations officer, spokesman for the police. And because I was already a spokesman, and because of my experience in police, which supersedes his, I would call him and say, you made a statement, this and this and this, but I think next time you should say it like this. So he had a lot to learn from me. Now, you wake up in the morning, that has been shot, dead. I remember going to my office at Interpol. I told my people to take the chair out of my office and put it outside. I remained in that meditating state from 10 in the morning up to 6
in the
evening until when I decided, let me go and see where he was shot from. I reached there. His body was still in the vehicle in that posture which you see in the photographs. Jesus. That was my biggest low point in the police, where such a senior officer is shot dead, is killed. And I had the roughest time because I replaced him
immediately
as spokesman again. And I had to keep on briefing the country about the progress of the investigations and what was going on. And you know that during that time, a lot of things went on. There was that Narfenya. It came as a result of that murder, of that assassination, the tortures, the allegations of torture. And I can tell you, it was like a half, I don't know whether I was really, there was a lot going in my head that somebody's been killed, it's been so close to you. And by the way, after his death, then I used also to get the same threats. You will go like he went. So I'm also going through that, but I must speak for the police. Now, people who do not know, during that period of time, those who criticized me, those who laughed at me, those who said whatever they said, and for the first time, because I said you are the first person to ask me that question, for the first time, for the 9 months, I served as a public relations officer official spokesman of the police, it was a moment where I look back and even up to now, I say, what was happening?
Yeah.
I think I was transformed to a different me. I think the low moments even affected my emotions. I don't want to say I was emotional, but it's a period in my policing journey. Probably I'll write a book about that incident, about that period.
Yeah.
Because I think I can write a 300-page on what I know, what happened, what went wrong, every nitty-gritty. I can explain it, I can sit and explain it to somebody. But that case is still there, so it's not soon that I'm going to write that book.
Yeah, it's not a closed case. Yeah.
It's not a closed case, so I'm not going to write about it. Probably time will come when I explain my circumstances.
Yeah.
So I can summarize those as my
I find that there is another.
lowest moments.
There is another.
Yes.
The speech.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even before you tell me it during the same period, we received one morning that someone had been murdered in Nansana. A lady and another lady. So we had 10 bodies, 2 bodies, and we can't tell who they are. Nobody claimed the bodies of their relatives. We are confused. How did they come? Some people say, okay, they came and they were renting there. So we are still now trying to find out what actually happened. As we try to come to terms with what exactly happened, another one is killed. Now, it was another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and it became 22. I think 22 or 23. 23 all women. 23 all killed in the same way. 23 all we don't get the killer. 23 where every single day you have to come to the television sets and
issue another statistic.
And issue another statistic, and concerns definitely the whole world focused on Uganda. And this is the person, and I am the person to explain to the whole world. I don't know how many interviews BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, the Germany network, Deutsche Welle. It was tough. And I can tell you, I don't know how many hours I would rest. I don't know how many hours I would sleep. Because even when somebody is not calling me, I'm calling commanders. I'm calling them. You people, are we safe? Yes, we are safe. No, you have not asked enough. Have you driven around? Are you in your house? Where are you now? Tell me. So it was a very, 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 very sad situation for months. And I was at my lowest. There is a ringtone which the Inspector General of Police I used to put there because I had 2 different ringtones. One for Inspector General of Police and any other call. I don't know how many ringtones I received every night from the Inspector General of Police. I removed that ringtone, but if I am in any society, any meeting, any, wherever I am, and somebody has that ringtone,
it reminds you, takes you back there.
I think I get a mental problem.
Oh.
Somehow.
It's what they call post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes. So, you can suffer that without knowing that you have suffered it, because now I can tell if I hear that ringtone from, I think it is a Samsung, because my phone was a Samsung. These not the notes, but I think there was an S7. That's the phone I used to carry. They were new at that time. We're talking about 2017. Around August, September, October. Those are the months that we're talking about. I actually think that we took the police day celebration, annual police day celebration in Nkumba, in Entebbe. This was on the 3rd of October 2017. And by that day, we took it there to enhance sensitization, mobilization, education about these murders, because there were so many in Entebbe. Now, that tells you that if this was 3rd, we had our last case around, because after that, another case happened. Now, it started in August, ended up in October. 3 months of at my lowest. Yes. Wow. So, those were tough situations at my lowest. But I can tell you, every time we had such a lowest situation, then would become more stronger, more resolute, more robust, and more focused in the way we did things.
I want us to focus a bit on the humanity of a police officer. Later on, we'll talk about the program you used to have on radio, but the humanity of the police officer. You people are, so to speak, in the front lines, and you are men and women just of like passions, just like me, same blood, and so on and so forth. Is there something that you do to remain strong when you face such like low moments? Is there something maybe in the institution that you carry out, or maybe probably starting from the personal level, at a personal level, are there remedies for those low moments? Because I can guess that given the way society is, at least maybe a police officer is guaranteed to face some kind of trauma every now and then.
Lawrence, I think sometimes we fight raw moments in our lives individually, two, at the family level, and I can tell you without any hesitation and contradiction at all, that my biggest counselor at that time was my wife.
Yeah.
Because I remember one night I went home and I received a call. I will not say where I received it from. And a lady had just been killed. A woman had just been killed. It was a Sunday, very early in the morning. Somebody called me at 6 a.m. On the road going to Chitara, prisons. There's a prison in Chitara. If you know Entebbe Road, when you're coming from Kampala after Chisubi, St. Mary's College Chisubi, then you go down. There is a small trading center. The people call it, I think, mile 16 or something like that. Then you branch from there. Now, as you branch, a woman had been killed. There was a dead body. So I'm the first person that was called that there was a dead body. Now, this person was going to church. She was going to church very early in the morning. At 6, she was going to church. Now, what I did, I called the regional police commander for Kampala Metropolitan South. He was called Bakareke, Siraj Bakareke, Assistant Commissioner of Police. I called the DPC of Entebbe, who is now my deputy, now as I speak. At that time, was the Superintendent of Police, Hilary Kuraige. And I told them to rush to that area. And then I told Bakareke to call the scene of crime officer to be in that area. Once the scene of crime officer has finished doing his or her job, then I should be told, and I rush. I also come so that I can now start informing the press about what happened and what preliminary information that we have. Now, if I had gone there, I would have communicated to the public and probably tell them what may not be true.
Yeah.
You know, at that time I had learned that you just don't simply talk because there is a body. The president was taking a lot of interest, as everybody had. You remember one time there was another woman killed around Entebbe, around a place called Mpara, near the road.
Yeah.
The president came, his motorcade stopped, and he went to the scene. He himself. So I cannot go to the scene and start talking from my own head. I wanted
information.
And then the phone call I received, I have decided not to say from who, was like, why am I not there? Why? Then I was being accused of being laissez-faire. You are laissez-faire. And at that moment I started to cry. I'm in my house.
You're in your house when this phone call comes.
An assistant inspector general police. I remember I'm the first person. I did the right things. I wanted the right things to be done. And 1 hour later, I'm a laissez-faire officer. I cried. And my wife found me in my room with my phone on my head. The person who had called me had gone off, and I'm crying. And then she comes and kneels in front of me and says, why are you crying? And I told her what had happened. And then this was just one of the many that had happened to me, that was happening to me every single night. And then she told me, and then I said, you know what? My job ends here. Today, I'll call people and I tell them my job ends here. And she was saying, you can't do that. You are going to negatively impact on all these police officers who are doing their job, who are in the field, they look up to you because they know you don't sleep. You know, the public look up to you because you are the person who's going to tell them what is going to happen, what happened, and what is going to happen. You are the man. So stand tall. This is just wind. It has passed. It has gone. Now, these and many more are some of the things that police officers go through. I didn't tell you that one time I was in an operation, heading an operation in Kibale, in that election of 2001, where a group of people attacked another. This because in Kibale you have the Banyoro, the indigenous people, and then the people who migrated to that area. They are called Bafuruki in that language. And then they came and ran over them because there was an election of MP, and Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, who is an MP for that area. I think it is Buyaga, it could be Buyaga West. He had defeated someone who is from the indigenous community called Besisira. Honorable Besisira was the MP from 2016 up to 2001. From 2006 up to 2021. So by the time I was deployed there, I think about 80 people had been cut. At a Gombora headquarters called Chirianga, we had about 200,000 internally displaced Bafuruki, Bachiga, Banyankore, Banyarwanda. They were all there. Some had been killed. We had dead bodies. I remember that woman who was found in her garden, a child wrapped on her back, and they cut the child, and they went and cut the woman. So we had a body of a mother and a 1-year child, still tied on her back, but cut into two. This is the situation I was in, and I was traumatized. I didn't put in my low moments because this is a traumatic situation.
Very, very traumatic.
Much as I handled it in one month, and there was a restoration of order. The other one was in Masaka during Bijambia of 2008. This one of last year was a second, it was a reincarnation of what happened there. And I also saw bodies and bodies and bodies, 68 that had been killed.
Are you normally prepared to see bodies?
I'm telling you, once you join the police, you're trained on how to handle that.
Yeah.
That is part. And when you're going through the training of the police, you are intentionally taken to the mortuary at Mulago Hospital to see the bodies. You must see the bodies because you are going to deal with scenes of murder. You are going to deal with accidents. The last thing people want to see is a police officer going to a scene of an accident where bodies are mutilated and you start crying in your local language.
You're the one who's supposed to be strong.
Yeah. And there you are saying, mama. No. That is not going to happen. That one is not going to happen.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you, isn't it?
It affects us, and I was affected. So those post-traumatic situations that that we get, we need a formal way on how to deal with them. Unfortunately, we don't have them
officially.
Yeah. We don't have counselors within the police attached to every unit that deals with. Right now we have a situation in Karamoja. Probably would be having at the region a welfare officer who is trained in counseling, who is trained in
psychology, all those things.
Yeah. Psychosocial, kind of psychosocial support. We do not have it. And I know it is not easy because you don't know you are going through that kind of experiences. So from your question on what is it that has been done, I think up to now we have not solved that.
But it's something that you know it needs to be done.
It needs to be done.
The organization
yes, the only thing is that you are comforted by friends at work, workmates. You are comforted by family, a very strong family, and I'm glad I have had a very, very strong family around me. I have a brother who did social work and social administration and has been working for the USAID, funded projects, and they deal with these kind of situations. So it's been my anchor also telling me, what should be done and how, but there is also a personality. There's a personality trait that I have. I'm one person that speaks out. Anything that afflicts me. Some people think it is a weakness, but it is one thing that has kept me going strong. And I know if I was going to be piling up all the lowest moments inside and whatever inside me, something can happen.
You're right.
But I think I am one person who something happens. Even right now, when we have social media, what's social media? And
you're very active on social media.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a minute. When did you get into Twitter? Because that's your strongest presence on social media.
2015. Yes.
How did that happen?
I was in Interpol.
Yeah.
And at that time, people were beginning to talk about. We are going through challenges of issuing certificates of good conduct, and many people were piling up at Interpol. And I was looking at remedies. How do I reduce the congestion that was at Interpol? Secondly, there are many people, we call fake people, abafere, who, because of the long queues and taking about 1 week to issue a certificate of good conduct, they came into the gap. And they would come and deceive people that they can get a certificate of good conduct in a day. So they used to take 300,000 from people. They rush to NASA and Kuruma. They print those fake certificates. The police would arrest these people at the airport. Now,
so people think they have the authentic certificate
when they have
fake. Is fake.
It is fake,
and they've already paid for it, and so on.
Yes. So they would pay a lot of money. They are stopped from traveling, and I think that's when we had externalization of labor program going up. And now people started complaining about Interpol. They even thought that it is police officers at my office
who are
colluding and taking money. You never know, there could have been one or two, because there's one that I had to get and chase him out of Interpol, and I think he was charged for what he did. Now, I asked myself a question. How do I reach out to people and tell them the processes that they need to go through in order to have a genuine certificate? But also, how do I tell them about how we can reduce the congestion that was taking place at Interpol? And while I was going through that, even at my home, in my home is the therapy. It's therapy. My home is my therapy. Whenever I go home and I have a situation, so I talk about it at the table when we are eating or when we are watching news. And my daughter was doing law at Makerere University. So I started explaining my reservations and how people are doing this, and people think that it's me who's not being assertive and solving the problem. Then she said, "Dad, why don't you join social media?" And I said, "What's that?" There is Twitter. There is, you know how young people, she said, Twitter.
Yeah.
Then there is Facebook. Then there is Snapchat. Then there is, she started telling me all these things. I said, what the hell are those? Then, but I had heard some people who had joined Facebook. They would come and they would get take some snap, some pictures, and then upload them on WhatsApp. Me, I was on WhatsApp. Then I said, but people, I think, are idle. How do you go to Facebook the whole day and you write this? I didn't know much about Twitter, but I was seeing Facebook. And I said, I will never join those confused people. I think they lack what to do and that kind of thing. Now, my daughter insisted, you can leave Facebook, but go on Twitter. Then I said, okay, what is Twitter? So she told me how Twitter is for very intelligent people.
Professionals.
People of high caliber. It's a place where you reason. It's not about those who are naked and that kind of thing. I said, oh, are you sure? Then I asked her, are you on Twitter? She said, yes, I'm on Twitter. Can you show me what's happening?
Your page.
I actually said, can you show me your page? She said, Dad, no. So I said, okay, show me. Don't you have other people on Twitter? And then she says, yes. So she opened, and then I started seeing short messages to the point. And I said, okay,
this is it.
Can I open a page? She said, I can open a page for you, an account for you. I said, okay, start. I think she took like 10 minutes, and I have an account. That's how I got an account. 2015. Yes.
And you've been there all along. Actually,
I started by doing what I was supposed to do. Why I opened a Twitter account. And I remember I called a lady who was she was an expert attached to the public relations office. I worked with her when I was even a public relations officer, but this time I had not. So I called her over. So she came and asked question answer. And she said that it is 1 hour question answer with Asan Kasingye.
Yeah.
So this was the first thing, and I saw many people asking this, asking that, and after that I went and reviewed. I saw the answers, and people were willing to learn.
To communicate.
I was not on Twitter before, so I didn't have people trolling you. And abusing you or whatever. It was not there. And I said, this is where I want to be. So I began to communicate to them. And now, because I was the only one, they started also asking me police-related questions.
Yes.
Because I am a senior officer, I was a PRO, I began to answer those questions. So people found it very comfortable to ask me anything, and I was there for them. There is no single question I would not answer. And when I became the spokesman, now it even became more easier for me to communicate up to date.
And it's a personal account, it's not a police account.
It's a personal account. I remember someone took me to court, somebody called Taylor. Taylor 8 is a student in the US. I think he's in Harvard University. And so there was, he took it, we were coming to the elections. And I think there are people who thought that, if you abuse me, you are inherently, I think you like...
you get clout or something.
You get clout against the government or whatever. And then I used to say, look, young man, I think if you want to score political points, look for the politicians. Me, I'm a police officer. But he did not heed. So everything, is abusing me, he's doing whatever. I thought it was too much. Then I said, you know what? This is a personal account. And if you want official account of the police, it is there. There's a public relations officer. He can answer you. Who was in anger? I think that time it was Kaima, Emilian Kaima, senior superintendent Emilian Kaima. So he didn't heed. He continued, and I blocked him. So the question at that time was, am I supposed to block anybody? Do I have the powers to block anybody? And I said, yes, I have the powers to block anybody. If Twitter didn't want anybody to be blocked, they wouldn't have invented a block button. So I have a block button. And I used it. And I have used it. I blocked him. This is a so they took me to court. Actually, that young man had been blocked by 3 people. He had been blocked by President Yoweri Museveni. He had been blocked by Mr. Ofono Opondo. So he took the 3 of us to court in the High Court. And his lawyer was anyway, let me not put a word, but I know recently you also had an altercation with a certain judge of the High Court. And is also back after months of deliberations that account, A. Kasingye, is a personal account. Even when I have a picture in police uniform, that does not make it an official account. Even when I am a police officer, that does not make it an official account. And whatever I put there can also be verified by. But I try to do everything with utmost professionalism. That I have never been caught off guard to say, no, this is, even when it is a mistake, I've made a mistake, I'll go back and say I have made a mistake. This is not what it's supposed to be. I remember there was a policeman who had been got information. I got information he was killed by a mob around Wandegea, and I reported that a mob has killed our police officer, and the body is at Mulago, because even the police officer, CID officer of Old Kampala, or CCID, is the one who gave me this information. So I called him. I said, can you confirm that? He said, I can confirm. Even the relatives are looking for the coffin. So I put it there. Later on, this officer did not die, much as they thought he had died. So Twitter, it was like, how can you tell us a lie? So I told them I didn't lie. That's the information I got. But now I can confirm that the police officer is alive, he's struggling for his life. And I also take responsibility to go and delete the information that I put there, which was not right. So that has been my role on Twitter.
You can easily say it's been therapeutic for you, being on Twitter. I mean, helping you one way and also serving the public in another way.
I think one of the things that I saw, and you can see that later on how I started as the director of Interpol and also as a public relations officer. Then later on in 2018, I changed. Why did I change? I saw that there was a lot of misinformation about the police.
Yes.
When we went for that election, people started bringing videos which were wrong. Some they would get them from other countries.
And attribute them to Uganda.
That this has happened to Uganda.
It happens a lot, by the way, in Africa.
So there were so many. I think the understanding at that time, or the misconception, was that if you find the police, if you demean the police, you would have demeaned the government. And they didn't know that maybe it was also intentional, that the image of the police went to the lowest. I think the ratings could have come from around 70 to about 20%. So there was the police image had gone down. The trust, confidence, mutual benefit that exists between the people and the police had also gone down. Now the question was, I am a chief political commissioner. How do I turn this amidst all that? So I put myself on the firing range. And number one, I must diffuse the distortions that had been put there. Remember one time at FDC headquarters, the police went to arrest some women who wanted to demonstrate. And in doing so, one of the police officers lost the flap for the rank, this black flap. And another constable comes and picks it, but he knows his boss is in front, so he picks it, he puts it in the pocket. Somebody goes and gets that clip and say, a police officer has stolen a mobile phone. It took me a day to find the truth, and I zoomed in. I asked the forensic department to help me get it, and we found it was a flap of an AIP, one stone, one star. And I got it and I put it out. So people started seeing me as a serious person who does not only talk on Twitter, but who also goes to do some investigation and verification. Now, if something was done by the police, I would come and say, this was bad. We are going to try this officer for what he did. Like that policeman who was drunk in uniform and saying all these profane words. I would come and say, this is what we are going to do. Something was not right. I would come and say, this is the position.
So you're not blanketly defending police.
No.
When something wrong happens, you acknowledge this.
I acknowledge this has happened,
and this doesn't represent the force and so on.
Secondly, it helps. Twitter is very fast. If you want to keep on informing the public by press conference, which happens every Monday, then between Monday and another Monday, so many things have taken place.
A lot of information.
So Twitter needs somebody who is apt, who is quick, who is knowledgeable, and who is believable. And I felt that gap. That's why some people, in order to discourage me, they used to say, I don't do work.
You just tweet.
I am just only, and they called me a tweeting cop. That for me, I'm a policeman only on Twitter. So then I think thirdly, I decided I have to attract, I have to capture and attract and be relevant to the Twitter users. So I did some very quick survey, and I found most of the Twitter users, the so-called trips. What is my age? I'm above. I think by 2015, I was 51. So if I am above 50, And I'm going to capture the attention of 17, 18, 15, 20-year-old university, 25. How am I going to do it? So I had to make sure that I fit in the mind of a young person. Okay. This was intentional. This was my personal decision. Number one, I started commenting on things that young people were commenting on.
They are relevant stuff in society.
Exactly. If it is music, I talk about music.
Football.
If it is football, I talk about football. I used to go to the spaces which they would go to. If they are launching something, I go there. If they are, if they used to have Twitter nights. Twitter nights in a certain bar in Kororo. I would go there in my uniform at night. And they were shocked that I was with them. That, sometimes my looks you may think I'm 30, I'm 40, and that kind of thing. So this helped me. They began to trust me. They began to recognize I'm a well-meaning person. And I would recognize their birthdays. I would invite them here. They would come and I welcome them in this office, this very office. Take photographs with them. If they have IT solutions for the Uganda Police Force, I would take them to
the relevant
people to do that. So they trusted me. And lastly, I can tell jokes.
Yeah. Your account is actually very funny.
Yes.
Anybody who has been on your account even for just a minute or so,
yes,
they are treated to some good humor.
Yes.
You are naturally a funny person.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a gift. That's another gift.
Yeah. For you know me very well. I may not explain here to the listeners why you know me well, but you know my history of humor, where it started from in that primary school.
Yeah.
So humor has been part of me. Yeah. And my family have laughed and laughed. Yeah. And even when I tell a lie now, they just look at me and say, "But Dad, when will you stop?" So I can tell jokes. Yeah. I can tell jokes even for a living. Yeah. And I get a lot of
stand-up comedy.
I see stand-up comedy and I say I can take that guy to school. I can take him to school on what on, and I think humor is healthy.
And also you are an arts person. You love music, you love dance, all those things.
I love music so much.
Yeah.
I was a DJ in my life. Dance up to now. I can even my house and so to make sure now I don't go too much, I stopped buying radios where I can play music.
Yeah.
But on TV, I can assure you that all those dances that I used to record myself and then put them out on Twitter, they happen every single night.
Wow.
Up to date. People used to dance during the COVID-19.
Yeah.
But for me, if you come to my house on Friday evening,
that was a given.
And on a Saturday, I am on NTV.
Yeah.
And those people, those DJs, know that I am with them.
And they know you are watching, they know you are dancing.
And you could have heard every night they send me greetings because they know I am with them.
Yeah. Okay. Afanda, even as we want to wind up, there is just too much to talk about with you. And there is little time. But it might not be in the public domain, maybe it is, that you are coming to the close of your service in police.
Yes.
But one of the things that you told me the other time we met is that you are now entering into one of the most critical aspects of your life going forward. And let's talk about that. What is your passion when you get out of police officially? What do you envisage your life is going to look like? What would you be focusing on?
I think one of the things that I don't wait for people to say about me, that I believe through my 33 years experience, is that I've been able to appreciate that humanity, you live it. You live humanity. That what you need, what you wish for, you do it to somebody else.
You embody it.
I have been lucky to serve an institution and serve this country where people come to you because they have problems. In this force, you are like a hospital. We don't visit hospitals just because you are in your happiest moment. Then you say, hey, where do I spend my birthday? I'm so happy that let me go to Mulago Hospital. You go to the beach. You go to all these places.
Comfortable, cozy places.
So people come to us when they have challenges. It may not be crime, but challenges of life. And for all these years, I've learned that one of the things that we must do is to appreciate humanity and to know that humanity, people have challenges. So I have been part of many people who come to me for personal, social, group challenges, whether it is a student body, whether it is
a family.
But I've also known that one way to deliver them and to understand and appreciate and be helpful is humility. That you need to have your feet both grounded, firmly. That you must be a simple person. Because once you become,
you put on
airs around you, people will not come to you. Okay? And I think I've done that. Whether consciously or subconsciously, or even unconsciously, you have done it. Now, as I phase out, I want to continue with that legacy. Because the public there is the same public that I see from here. But the public out there now are going to need my services because I'm near them directly. Now, I would want to transform them and help them even more than I have done. Because I've done it inside here, but while there, I'm going to do it there. It's not going to be simple, Lawrence. Because while I'm doing it here, I can call somebody in Zombo, can call somebody in Maraba, can call somebody in Karenga, and I say, I hear you have done this and this, it is wrong, you must stop it, and you have held somebody in his cells, is not supposed to be there. I've given you only 10 minutes, I don't want to see that person. And in 10 minutes, that person will be out. But now I will be out, and I'm not going to be giving those orders.
You don't have the authority.
Even if I give the orders, they are not going to take the orders. Probably I would even be demeaned, I would even be abused, that your time is over. I'm going, therefore, to use the same humility that I used to break ice, that I used to break barriers, that I used to talk to RDCs and DPCs and LC5 chairpersons the same way. That I'm going to use the same, in every situation, in every conflict that you have, there are approaches that I'm going to use the same conflict resolution methodologies that I have had. And it is even going to be more sober, that I'm going to be more on the ground, more, even when I know somebody's below my rank, but that person, I need him, I need her to be able to help someone who's in the community, whom I know has not even done what is said to have done. So, this is what I want to do, Lawrence. I want to go to the community, be part of the community. I want to go to the community and try to fill the gap that I've not been with them for the last 33 years. I want to go back and be accepted. I want to go back and work with them, experience the things that they experience. I don't want to remain in town and I become that, elitist. I want to go back. If it means working with them at a church, if it means working with them at a school. Right now, I am on the board of governors for 2 secondary schools. I am on several projects for building churches and that. I want to go and do it. I know I will not have the resources, but I can be used. Mine can be a chain to reach where they cannot reach.
You can connect them to people of like minds and so on and so forth.
Yes, I will do. That's what I intend to do.
Okay.
But at the same time, I want also to make sure that I remain, relevant to myself and my country. And you never know. I can't tell, apart from what I think I can do as a person, but I don't know what I'm going to do after that. You never know. You may be changed from here and say, want you here. I will go there and serve.
You are ready to serve.
I'm ready to serve in other capacities. Yes. That is the point.
And you look extremely young at your age, as in you should not even call it retirement.
No.
It's just an official term people use to end a particular service, but that doesn't mean that you can't work anymore.
In forces, we call it tour of duty.
Tour of duty.
Tour of duty.
Tour of duty.
So I would have changed the tour of duty from here to another tour of duty, and I would be serving the same people that I've been serving. But in a different capacity.
That's it. Maybe the last question would be, who has been your biggest mentors in the police force? Let's say 3 people or 2 people that if you look back, who you are, you wouldn't be where you are without them. Because we know that, God has created us in such a way that we depend one on another. For me personally, as Lawrence, I don't believe in that thing they call self-made.
Okay.
Yeah. So for you, who has helped you?
I would just quickly tell you my mentors at these stages. My first mentor is the district police commander in Entebbe. He retired as an assistant commissioner of police, and his name is Bob Ngobi.
Yes.
Bob Ngobi mentored me from formative stages to show me how things are done, and he made me he made me an OC station, an officer in charge station. To be an OC station at that time,
at that age
was not easy.
Yeah.
So he taught me how to serve, especially serving the people.
Yeah.
And the police officers. Then the second mentor is in police. He was not actually a police officer here, but he was a police officer in the UK.
Yes.
In Metropolitan Police.
Yes.
His name was Bernard Brown.
Yes.
Who came here as an expert on community policing.
Yeah.
He took me for courses abroad in the UK.
Yeah.
He told me how you do things, how you talk to people. He used to take me to Nachivubo. He used to take me to that area, Chikubo. And then they would organize so many people. Then he would say, those are your people. Go and talk to them. Then he keeps on looking at me. Okay? Then after that, he would say, oh, I could see some people were losing interest because you were too long. Then I say, how long should I talk? He said, you could have talked 30 minutes, but you took 1 hour. So he kept on telling me what I should do. Basically, then he would take me to a primary school. He said, talk to those children. Then when I talked to them, he said, you are saying the right things, but to the wrong audience. Then I said, what do I do? He said, first of all, you shouldn't have stood. You should have sat.
Yeah.
And when you talk to that P3 girl, you should have knelt.
Yeah.
You should have squatted.
Yeah.
And then she's at the same level with you. But now she was looking at you up there. The third was actually the Inspector General of Police. Before IGP, there was that Onyo officer I've talked about. Stephen Onyo was the Senior Assistant Commissioner of Police. He was the Director of Administration. When I used to have different community policing programs around the country, so I would call him to come and be the chief guest at the cruiser. And by the time we finished like 3 districts, he looked up to me and said, you are going places.
Wow.
I have never seen a police officer who can mobilize people, talk to LOCs, and endear them to the police. He said, Mr. Kasingye, you are going places. The other one was the Inspector General of Police, John Chisembo, who, in his wisdom, could call me, and after that, even when he left, he could call me. I'm the only person he would call to say, I've seen this on TV. If I was there, I would do it. And I know you can still do it. Now, General Katumba Wamala. General Katumba Wamala, he came to the police. He found me as a superintendent of police. And by the time he left, I was a commissioner of police. Remember, he spent only 4 years.
Wow.
I have said, he found me a superintendent of police. And he left when I was a commissioner of police. What does that mean? In 4 years, I was promoted from SP. He found me SP. I went SSP. I went to SCP. I went commissioner. 4 ranks in 4 years.
It is not normal.
Yes.
It's unprecedented.
Yes. But every time he would call me to his office, then he had some prepared questions. How are you? How is work? How is your family? What does your wife do? Where do your children go to school?
Wow.
Do you have any health challenge? Do you have anything disturbing you, like heart, HIV, or whatever? Do you have? No, sir. I'm okay. They said, okay, be prepared for higher responsibilities.
Wow.
And I know you can do it. If there's any speech he wants to make, not that he cannot write, he calls me. I am going to talk to people like this and this and this and this and this. Prepare a speech for me. And I was a speech writer. He would go, and up to now, I write speeches in 2 minutes, in 5 minutes. Speeches you think I have done
forever.
So General Katumba Wamala loved me, took me as his child, and taught me how to be a responsible police officer. Now, General Kare Kaihura, when he came, he took over from where General Katumba Wamala said. And you know, he was the longest serving IGP for 13 years. When he came, I will summarize it like this. I will not go so much. I will summarize it like this. And General, if you happen to hear this program, this is the way I've decided to summarize you. On the first day he took over, it was a police council day. And the General Katumba Wamala, who was handing over to him, he asked all of us to introduce ourselves. So I stood up and said, I am commissioner. This is the first day I'm putting out that rank.
Yes.
The first day.
Yes.
I'm commissioner of police, Asan Kasingye, and I am the head of community affairs department.
Yes.
Then he said, what's your name again? I said, I am assistant commissioner. I'm a commissioner of police, Asan Kasingye. He said, you are Asan Kasingye? I said, yes. Oh, I will work with you. I will work with you.
This is the first time you're meeting him.
I'm meeting him for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm talking to him for the first time. And he's saying, what's your name again? I'll work with you. On the last day, he handed over. He was handing over to IGP, of course, Ochora John Martins. And after they have handed over, he had made his speech and everything, a paper is passed to me, a small paper, by the incoming IGP, and said, give award, farewell, you know. How do they call that word?
Vote of thanks.
Vote of thanks. Actually, that's what he said. Give a vote of thanks. And the public relations officer now was was saying some nice things and trying now to invite me. Within about 3 minutes, I had scribbled down words that ended up to be 3 pages. You read those words yourself. In 3 minutes, I wrote a vote of thanks, and it turned out that it was my own assessment and view, personal view, about General Kale Kayihura. And in those 3 pages, I said what I said about how he mentored me, about how he mentored all of us, about what he meant to us. I was reminding him of some things that he was even had forgotten about. Now, my summary is, he mentored me from the first day with his first words, I will work with you. And he mentored me on the last day, because when he was going, he said, Asan, can you put those words, can you type them? I want to frame them and put them in my house.
The words, you came up with them in 3 minutes?
Yes.
Wow.
That's the summary of a mentor who mentored me with his first word and his last word.
Wow. Afande, there is so much to talk about. You, your life, police, and so on. To be honest with you, I think we've just scratched the surface.
It is the surface.
Yeah. But I want you to, if possible, look at imagine these tweeps of ours, young guys at 17, 20, and so on. How would you tell them about the police if they were to work with the police? Encourage these people if they are looking for an opportunity to work with the police.
Okay.
Is it because it's the last resort, or is it because it's a calling? What kind of people would you want to join the police force, even as we come to a close of today's episode?
I've just remembered something small that I should have said about General Kale Kayihura.
Yeah.
It's just one word. He told me, Kasingye. He used to call me Kasingye. He said, Kasingye, never sit in your office. Go and serve the people in the field. You know how he used to work in the field? And I think I am the most traveled officer in this country to reach the last policeman wherever he or she is. The last police officer, wherever he or she is. The mentoring was too loud. Go and serve the people from wherever they are. Now, on the young people who want to cut a niche, who want to join the police, this is my advice to you. Don't join police because you have seen Kasingye and you think he's rich. Don't join police because there is this young man who was in your school. Maybe you were in senior 1, he was in senior 6, and you think he has a lot of powers about him. Police is not about power. Do not join police because you think you can get whatever you may not get in a very short time. Be motivated by the following things.
Right.
Number 1, police is a calling. Just like you decide to be a reverend, a father, just like you decide to be an emir, just like you decide. So, if you just go to become a reverend father, just because you want to put on that cassock and be called a reverend father, and you want to do other things, you'll be embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as the police. If you want to come to the police, come to serve. It's a calling.
Yeah.
That's number 1. Number 2, that police is just a service to people. A service to prevent crime, a service to find those who have committed crime, a service to give people hope of safety and security in their community. You are a servant of these people. Don't think that you want to join the police and become an OC of an area. And you want people to start coming and worshipping you and calling you Afande and whatever. Call you at functions, you want to be mentioned, you want to sit in the front, you go to church, you want to be...
You want to be seen.
No. 3, humility. If you want to come and serve in the police, you must be so humble. It doesn't take anything from you from being humble. In fact, you reach places you shouldn't be reaching because of being humble. So humility is something that you must have. But I have also seen that if you're going to join police, you must be able to take away your own self and you give your own to the community.
A sacrifice?
Yes. You must be able to know that Saturday, that Sunday, when your child is going on a birthday party at the beach or wherever, you may be called and you may leave this party. You are going to be almost permanently taken away from your family, from your loved ones, from friends, and from all these. You must be ready to be available at all times. Okay? But I also think that we must be tolerant. And I say this with experiences. I'm not saying words. I'm choosing words basing on myself as an example. You wake up in the morning, there is a problem somewhere, you got to solve that problem, maybe a bishop was mishandled, and then they remember that you are the person who can go and take the message of forgiveness, of apology. Then you go there, and 2 months after that, for some reason, the bishop dies, and they are going to say, you gave him poison. You, Asan Kasingye, or whatever your name, you poisoned
a bishop.
What are you going to do? You need to be tolerant and forgiving. Whatever things are going to be. I think even in other situations, but if you don't, you are going to use your power. Okay? Why I chose it? Because you are going to use the powers that you have to harm.
Revenge, get back, and show people.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you've not exemplified the function of police.
Exactly. So, if you are out there, you're a young person, and you and the discipline are
like oil and water.
And like poles. Don't try.
Yeah.
It is a job that requires a highly disciplined person. A person who wants to serve. A person who is not serving self. In fact, every day you take a bribe from somebody, you know that is a vote of you what is it called when you go, like in parliament, when you are given a vote of
no confidence.
You yourself, you are giving a mark and say, I'm in the wrong place. Somebody needs to be released on bond. I need 100,000. That's the vote of no confidence. Somebody is calling you that there is some thieves around, and you say you can't go there, you cannot send somebody, you cannot react quickly. No, call me in the morning, I'm tired. That's a vote of no confidence. It is a selfless service. Lastly, I think if you finish even 1 year without loving the job, and you feel
you don't love it,
it's not part and whatever, it is not too late. Actually, it is it is the right time that you leave that job.
You call it quits.
And you quit.
Go find something else that
yes,
you love.
Nobody is going to hold you to remain serving an institution that you feel you cannot serve. I've seen so many young people. We brought them from the universities. We took them and trained them in Masindi. We gave them everything. They are district police commanders. We have given them cars. We have given them what? They are paid a salary. They have a house. They are not like other people who finished universities at their time. And you hear somebody has taken somebody's wife. You hear somebody has... last week I was reading from... I have confirmed it myself, so that's why I'm talking about it. That a superintendent of police at a certain place in Bushenyi took a woman from the cells and went and impregnated her. This can never happen. You can't. Yeah. So, I think young people must be able to look at that and not look at what you want to get from there, but consider this as a service.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Afande. Even as we've come to a close of today's episode, I really appreciate your opportunity to speak to us and to share your life with us. I came here for 1 hour, but we've done 2 hours.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much. And to the listeners, keep the faith. Listen to what Afande has said. And I think those things that Afande has just mentioned at last, they should be copied and pasted to just about any other profession, not just the police. Until another time when we're doing this, bye-bye and God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.